There's my full auto railgun kill. It is great for shooting drivers out. Oh my god, that's cool. Woo! Yes! Woo! That instant travels time. Somebody on the other side of this wall. Oh baby! Oh wow, that's a spot. That's a dirty little spot. Oh my god. Dang it. Holy shit! So the new Rorsch Mk4 Railgun is pretty much insane when used as a long-range sniper in Battlefield 2042. With a nearly instantaneous muzzle velocity, basically zero drop, one-shot headshot kills, a 20-round mag, and fast rate of fire, I almost can't believe DICE thought this weapon wasn't going to become comically overpowered at long range. Make sure to try it out before it gets nerfed, because although DICE hasn't nerfed it yet, you can imagine one is coming. Now the first step to unlocking God mode with this weapon is to hop into a solo bot round and farm away until you unlock the 6x scope. Then pop on that 6x scope and make sure you have the single shot attachment selected. Put yourself about 100 meters or more away from your targets and make it rain Mach 7 lead. And I mean, honestly, look at the speed in which I can drop bots here. I don't think there's anything else in the game that lets me do this at this range. Now, the only downside to the railgun here is its obvious charge up time. It's a little awkward compared to a traditional sniper, but it really doesn't take long to get used to, and the fact that you don't really need to lead or compensate for drop makes it so much easier to use overall than a traditional sniper. Dropping targets on the move is an absolute breeze. And I guess the only other downside here is that extreme range, it's a 3-shot body shot kill, but for most ranges it'll still be 2 shots to the body. That said, headshots are just going to be way easier to get since there isn't a ton of compensation. You just aim for the head level and go for it. In a server with real players, it's certainly going to be more challenging, but when given enough range, there simply isn't anything better to use. The best way to try and fight this thing is to like zigzag or wiggle to make yourself a harder target, but even then, if the shooter has good enough reaction time, there's only so long you can jukes before taking a shot. Hitting guys in full out sprints, jumping through the air, parachuting, or even camping in an open canopy vehicle is just going to be so easy to kill them, and if I'm being perfectly honest, it's also super satisfying. Even if it is overpowered, I can't deny that it's fun to drop entire squads of guys at over 100 meters out. And if somebody is pushing you in close quarters and you have time, you can use the quick plus menu change to convert it to full auto for a fast kill, or you can always just use your sidearm. But basically, you have a lot of options with this gun in addition to being crazy good at extreme ranges. Playing on the new Spearhead map, I was messing around with the different classes. Combining the railgun's plink damage on vehicles with Liz's rocket launcher became a pretty interesting combo for dealing with vehicles at long range. The somewhat medium to low damage of Liz's rockets seemed less of an issue when you cancel out repairs and finish them off with the plink damage of the railgun. Now honestly, at ranged combat, the tanks were kind of more of my bigger threats, being able to splash damage me away at range before I could do enough damage to them, but beyond that, few other targets were particularly scary. I mean, obviously a fully loaded transport heli is no joke, but as long as your team is somewhat on point and can bring them down faster, you should be alright. Now for the most part I was playing on Spearhead just because that seems to be more promoted on the playlist, so I haven't used it too much on the other maps, but it's clear that any map that features long range fighting, the Rorsch Mk4 is going to be a popular pick. The 6x scope though really is the make or break attachment in my opinion. Sniping without the scope is certainly doable, but nowhere near as precise or enjoyable in my opinion. The 6x just maxes out those headshots and running shots. Now, of course, the 6x magnification is a little bit limited at the extreme ranges, and at times on the extremely large maps, it could feel a little bit like pixel shooting, but even then, the zero drop still made it very reliable, especially in a sniper duel against players that probably had higher magnification scopes. I could just body shot them easily at range while staying mobile, left, right, still landing shots. Now, I've only briefly used the railgun tank so far, but from what I've heard and defense scene, it's in a similar situation when dealing with vehicles. It becomes an easy to use sniper against armored and air targets, certainly counterable, but oddly a weapon that encourages edge of the map camping to reach its full potential. Now, long-range sniping has always been a staple of the Battlefield franchise, but rarely has it been properly integrated to playing the objective. The Rorsch Mk4's ability to transform itself into a close-range weapon is cool though, so perhaps it'll give snipers more opportunities to push in closer once the long-range threats are dealt with properly, but I doubt it'll work as smoothly as, say, in Battlefield 1's Recon class that could certainly hold its own in close-quarter combat. Now, all that said, I think the weapon does need a nerf in that it really does invalidate most other traditional sniper rifles at long-range combat. The most obvious way to nerf this weapon, in my opinion, is to reduce the magazine size for the semi-auto fire. Having 20 rounds is really insane considering it's one of the best headshotters in the game. I would say dropping that down to below 10 would probably make a lot more sense. Now, I don't have the actual stats on the muzzle velocity for this weapon, but the fact that it's borderline hit scan does make it almost impossible to balance. One of the obvious ways to do it is to reduce the damage, but that also goes against the whole concept of having a railgun. If you can shoot something at Mach 7, why should it do less damage than a traditional bullet? Perhaps requiring stationary movement to get good accuracy, or even have the charge up time affect player movement so you can't be sidestepping all over the place while you also return accurate fire. The charge up time could also be increased to reduce the rate of fire, but it would have to be finessed. The gun is on the edge of being overpowered, so hitting all of the mentioned balance areas slightly might bring it back in line with other weapons. Realistically though, if you want to keep that one-shot headshot and muzzle velocity, you really need to reduce that rate of fire. The charge up mechanic just doesn't seem to be enough to balance it out at range. Now, I don't anticipate players raging too much against this gun on most maps. Areas with enough cover and close range combat are going to be mostly protected from its abilities. It's the long range open maps that are going to be tough though. Hourglass and Discarded come to mind, and probably Breakaway as well. Some rounds on Spearhead I had a plethora of targets, and other rounds when players were mostly indoors it felt like I wasn't really able to take advantage quite so much. What do you guys think? Have you unlocked the 6x scope on this thing yet and tested the true power of the Rorsch Mk4? Let me know in the comments if you think it's overpowered. Have you been dying to it a lot? Do you think players mostly just haven't quite figured out to use this weapon at the extreme ranges yet? And if you're in the mood for something completely different, check out this Warhammer Darktide video. I honestly can't get enough of this game, and I managed to test out one of the new Blackout missions where your team has to try beating a mission in the pitch black. Check it out, and as always, thanks for watching. This is LevelCap, signing off.